The light of dawn filtered through the bedroom window. "Wake up, Husk! It's breakfast time!" urged Solomon, yanking the blankets off me. Dazed, I fell out of bed to his laughter. "You seem to be having a nightmare. You wouldn't stop hugging me," he commented on my behavior last night, where I turned to a vulnerability like never before, which caused him concern. "Do you want to tell me about it?" "It was just a bad dream," I lied, with the image still vivid in my mind. I walked thoughtfully to the bathroom, questioning how reality has been slowly cracking in my life. My mind, which had been marching within logic, opposing and making use of the principle of refutability, could not respond to the events. Of course, I looked for an exception to contradict what has been happening, but Popper himself was aware of the limitations of strict falsifiability. Instead, anomalies are accepted, or hypotheses are generated for this, as new knowledge is constructed. What does all this dissertation mean? You surely already intuit it without the need for an outstanding IQ. We went downstairs, attracted by the aromatic breakfast prepared by Joanna and set on the table by Mrs. Goldstein, who in turn greeted us with a kiss on the forehead for each one, although with a look of resignation, since we showed up in our underwear. "Did you sleep well, treasure?" "Yes, very well, thank you," I replied, taking a seat, feeling Solomon's inquisitive gaze, since he knew that it wasn't like that at all. We continued having breakfast, and I couldn't help but think about the strange events I had been experiencing, absorbed in it, perhaps even with a lost gaze. Suddenly, Mr. Goldstein arrived, greeting cheerfully, giving us a kiss on the head before sitting down. His wife exclaimed with a smile, "There's no remedy with you, now the boys are copying you," referring to the fact that, like us, he showed up only in his underwear. Joanna, the Goldsteins' house cook, an older lady, showed her indifference to it with a look of resignation that is the result of years of working for the family. She placed Mr. Goldstein's breakfast in front of him, eggs with bacon and coffee, while he immersed himself in the news of the newspaper. Finding myself within that scene so full of family warmth, among chatter and games, I remembered my first visit here, being a shy and reserved child, but the friendship with Solomon and his family changed all that. Solomon was the first to see beyond my peculiar appearance and intellect, he accepted me just as I am. "Everyone get ready!" urged Mrs. Goldstein, giving her husband a warning look to stop playing. Her warmth filled a void in me, and for a moment, it allowed me to dream of being part of their family. But we already know that when happiness overwhelms you, tragedy waits for you to get distracted. As we prepared to go to the temple, Mr. Goldstein helped me put on the kippah and tell it with delicacy and affection. I thanked him with a sincere smile. For a moment, I wanted to hug him, but I held back, simply expressing my joy at sharing that moment that was so significant to them. Although I am not religious and my mother also has no interest in following religious dogmas, despite her Jewish ancestry, I learned to respect and be part of the Goldstein family traditions. My grandmother, following tradition, took me before the rabbi for the Brit Milah, 8 days after my birth, as tradition dictates. This caused some tension with my mother. During the prayers in the temple, a wave of uneasiness invaded me. The air was thick and heavy, making it impossible for me to escape that growing fear. Around me, everyone bowed their heads in reverence, and it was at that moment that my fears materialized. The man in the gray coat appeared standing at the pulpit, next to the rabbi, while he read the prayers from the Torah for that day. He pointed at me, inviting me to approach, to go with him. Panic paralyzed me. I wanted to scream, to seek help from Mr. Goldstein, but it was as if I were invisible to others. I tried to touch Solomon, however, my hand blurred, as if I were a shadow without substance, yielding to darkness, disappearing into it. The man in the gray coat began to dance the aura, intertwining his arms with those present, advancing towards me. Each step he took increased my terror. He forced me to back away, but he tried to grab me, passing through me as if I were a ghost. A whisper in my mind called out to me, "Wake up!" Suddenly, the ceremony was over and I found myself sitting next to Mr. Goldstein, as if nothing had happened.
Look, look, talking about you.